Bienvenidos a las conferencias virtuales para la tercera Convención Internacional de Historiadores y Numismáticos Cartagena 2021, evento que venimos desarrollando en la bella ciudad de Cartagena. Cabe destacar que estas conferencias aglutinan a los más importantes historiadores y numismáticos de más de 21 países, siendo este uno de los foros más importantes de la región. En esta oportunidad tenemos como invitado a los Estados Unidos de América, cuya conferencia será dictada por Ponterio con el tema La acuñación de Colombia, uso y revalidación a partir del siglo XVI al siglo XIX. Para esta conferencia también contamos con la presencia del señor Paul Nussen, dealer numismático y coleccionista avanzado de monedas y contramarcas. También está con nosotros Audi García Barneche, vicepresidente de Cartagena 2021 por el hemisferio norte, autor también de la saga tumbaga El Tesoro de los Conquistadores, y además de ser un reconocido numismático de la casa de subastas de Daniel Frank Hedwig. En esta oportunidad vamos a hacer, tengo como coanfitrión a Audi García, quien nos va a apoyar con el idioma para hacer esta conferencia, que a partir de ahora será en el idioma inglés. Adelante, Audi.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ponterio. We have one of the top numismatists of the United States and the world regarding colonial coinage and countermarks. He's the son of a recognized numismatist from the family of the Ponterios that have been auctioneers for many, many years. Now the legacy continues through Kyle in Stax Bowers. And he is one of our American speakers for the Congress. Unfortunately, he cannot come in person, but he was very nice to agree to give a talk virtually for all of you. The topic that Kyle will be giving is called The Coinage of Colombia, Use and Revalidation from the 16th to the 19th centuries. And he will be going through certain coins and how they will countermark and use in Colombia and around Latin America and other parts. He had a vast knowledge of countermark coins, and a couple of years back he put together one of the most important collections that we've seen for auction, in the last 2 or 3 decades. So without further introduction, I want to thank personally Kyle for committing to this talk, and I will be passing the slides for you. So it's all yours, Kyle.
Thank you, Augie, and thank you for letting me do this and being patient with me. So let's begin. Welcome, and thank you guys for watching and attending. So Spanish colonial coins, it's a Spanish piece of 8. They circulated everywhere. They were recognized for good purity, good weight, a recognizable design. They were the first universal currency of the world. They circled the globe. Most of the time, when people think of the Spanish piece of 8, they think of something along the lines of Mexico or Potosi. Those by far had the most prolific outputs of all of the colonial mints. However, Colombia also produced many coins, mostly gold, but they also did produce silver coins. And we don't normally see them circulating across the globe. So we're going to go and we're going to look at some pieces that circulated around the globe, and we can see that they were physically there because they were revalidated. for use in different locations. Sometimes they were official marks, sometimes they were not official marks, but they still circulated. They circulated in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and probably Africa as well. Portuguese colonies like Mozambique, though I don't know of any Colombian coins with Mozambique countermarks on them. So without further ado, let's get into this. The first coin that we've got, next slide, Augie. The first coin we're looking at is a Jamaican pistol, or a 2 escudos. It's on a Colombian Popayan 2 escudo. Now, Jamaica is an island nation. They have no natural resources to produce coins. So they were totally reliant on importation of coinage. And so when they did that, some of the issues they countermarked for circulation there, increasing the value, authorizing them to circulate. The coinage of Jamaica was, these countermarks were authorized by Local Act of 1758. And they did this to all minor coins of silver, from the half real all the way up to the 8 real. And as far as we know, only the 2 escudos and the 8 escudos. And of the 2 escudos, there's only 2 confirmed examples. The 2 escudos is extremely rare, and you know, they all have pedigrees going back many, many years. This one in particular has a pedigree back to 1937. The 8 escudos are still rare, but they're more numerous, mostly on Limas or Mexicos. Let's next slide, please. Now, this is an interesting coin. It's a rare coin in its own right. It's kind of an amalgamation of both Colombian and Ecuadorian, because it's a Pasto 2 real, 1822. It is a similar design to colonial 2 reals, except the legends are completely different. Also, it used to be confused as Popayan, but the book by Anderson, can't think of his first name, but I think it's Michael Anderson, realized that the minting equipment was moved to Pasto, and these are actually emergency issues issued from Pasto. Now, the countermark is for Costa Rica. It's a Carrillo countermark issued by Barrio Carrillo Colina in 1841, done for a short period of time. They were in such dire straits that they were taking any milled coins and they were countermarking them, test marking them, and putting a hole in them. These exist on half reals all the way up to 8 reals. They do exist on 4 and 2 escudos, but there's no test punch and there's no plug removal. And it's only on Costa Rican gold for the Central American Republic. All the silver coins are of colonial or republican nature, and they all, for each type, doesn't matter denomination, for each type, they're all mutilated in a similar fashion. So for this one, the test punch is before Rex and after Hispaniarum. And on all of the other colonial types, it is between, it's in a similar location in the legend. Since the legend's different, they had to find a different location. But on other colonials, it's between et, and ind, I-N-D. But the countermark is always on the bust, and the plug is always removed from the same location, regardless of denomination. The 8 reals are the same. The half reals are the same. Doesn't matter what mint, doesn't matter what ruler. These are all mutilated in a similar fashion. Let's move on to the next slide. Here's a really interesting one. It's a 1693 4 real. this is, I mean, quite frankly, this is kind of an amazing coin. Not many of these are known as a host coin. In terms of a Colombian host coin, not many of these are known for host coins for Guatemala. There's only about 2 or 3 known that I'm aware of. Now, the countermark was issued circa 1839 up to about 1840. And during this time period, they were countermarking both cobs and milled coinage. And if you look at enough, you can link the countermarks between cobs and milled coins, and it doesn't matter what denomination was. And another interesting fact about the cobs is that the countermarks were supposed to be applied to the cross side, or technically the obverse, though nowadays most people call the cross side the reverse. There are very few exceptions to this rule. Exceptions to this rule occurred so sporadically that individual coins with the countermark on the now obverse are actually quite rare. But having a Colombian coin as a host coin for this is, boy, that's real interesting, and you never see them. So when I saw that, I thought it was really great. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Now, this is not an official mark. This is a merchant countermark for a Baltimore merchant, and it was used to get into to watch the troop, and but it's on a Colombian 2 real, 1820 2 real from Popayan, and it's the countermark itself, or as the U.S. guys would call them, as counter stamps. They delineate between something that is an official mark and something that's an unofficial mark. But to be perfectly honest, they're synonymous. Now, this didn't change the value. It was probably just 2 bits, which is 2 reals, or a quarter, 25 cents. But as far as I know, I believe this piece is unique, though the countermark itself is pretty numerous, and they show up from time to time on various host coins. Let's move on to the next one. Now, the Philippines, this is an area that I've studied very, very heavily. They've countermarked thousands and thousands and thousands of coins. The 1835 Colombian 8 real is probably one of the most common coins from the series as a single date. Any date other than 1835 is exceptionally rare. I don't think I know of any other dates besides 1835. As far as I'm aware, there was a special importation of 1835 8 reals into the Philippines. And that's why there are so many of them. The original decree called for the countermarks to be applied to the obverse of the coin. Now, in some instances, such as Chilean pesos or Central American Republic 8 reals, the obverse and reverse was not so straightforward. And both of those 2 types show up with countermarks on the obverse and countermarks on the reverse, independently from each other. So you'll have examples where the countermark shows up on the obverse, and then you'll have another one where the countermark shows up on the reverse. It just happens that way for those 2. However, any other type with the countermark on the reverse, which is the picture on the right, you've got the countermark on the reverse on that one, and the countermark on the obverse on the one on the left. The one on the right, as far as I know, is unique. It's the only one that I know of with the countermark on the reverse. I've have about 60 examples recorded with the countermark on the obverse, but only the one with the countermark on the reverse. Now, as far as 8 escudos are concerned, the Colombian 8 escudo is probably the most numerous host coin for the 8 escudos. I've got about 12 of those recorded, and they're either Bogota or Popayan, any other, and most of them are for Isabel II, which is Y2. There are 1 or 2 with the F7 for Ferdinand VII, but other than that, all other 8 escudos or other gold, for that matter, other denominations of gold coins are extremely rare to unique. There does exist a Colombian, I believe it's a 1 escudo in the National Museum in the Philippines. And then I'm also aware of a 2 escudo that is a cast counterfeit. And that's an interesting coin to point out because the countermark was cast into the coin. What happened to the original coin? If there's a cast counterfeit with the countermark cast into the coin, it was made from something. It couldn't have been made, or it couldn't have been cast and then they added a countermark to it. The countermark was already there. So all minor gold is extremely rare to unique. The 8 escudos, they're extremely rare and valuable, but not so rare. They're not unique. There's a couple of known for duplicate dates. Most dates, there are only single examples known for either Bogota or Popayan. So this is a pretty interesting series, and this one I've actually studied an exceptional amount of time. Let's move on to the last slide. Now, these are exceptionally rare coins. There's only about 3 or 4 known of Colombian host coins with the golden fleece countermarks on them. Now, the value changed where they were having so many problems with having underweight and low purity silver coins that they had to revalue the 8 reals to 48 stivers to an 8 reals. That also included the subsidiary coinage like 4 reals and 2 reals and 1 reals. But I don't know of any Colombian coins, Colombian miners with those countermarks on them. There are at least 3 countermarks, 3 different countermarks. There's one in a shaped border. There's one in kind of a blunted triangular border, and there's one in an octagonal border. None of them are particularly rare. It just depends on the host coin that they come on. And both of these are extremely rare, very popular, and you almost never see them. They're an interesting series, but to find host coins like this are just outrageous. Now, we've gone through the slides, and we've gone through and talked about a few coins, a few interesting pieces, some exceptional rarities. Augie, Paul, do you guys have any questions about these?
Yeah, I have a question that probably is not directly related to what you've been explaining to us, which is fascinating. But I would like you to mention briefly the fact that there were a few coins that were Colombian cobs, silver and gold, I believe, that were, it's not actually countermarked, but they were regulated for circulation in the United States.
Yes. Okay, so in the United States, I actually have a picture of an 8 escudos that I was debating on whether or not I was going to use for this.
I think I have one picture. Let me see if I can. But go ahead. I'll see if I can find it. Yeah.
So there's actually, I believe there's 2 Colombian coins that have been regulated. One was a 2 escudo and one was an 8 escudos. Yep. Oh no, there's three of them. So
You've seen
okay.
it?
Yeah, I've seen that one. There's also another one, I believe it has Philip Singh on it. Who,
These two escudos in the from the ANS collection, I believe. Yeah.
right, yes. So there's this one. There's an eight escudos that's in a private collection. And I believe that there's another two escudos that has the hallmark for Philip Singh. Now, Philip Singh was the guy who made the inkwell that the United States Declaration of Independence was signed out of, was used with. Now, these are probably my favorite American coins, and which is really bizarre because they're all foreign coins. They're foreign coins that were assayed, plugged, brought up to a specific weight standard. The weight standard was $16 in their subdivisions, $8, $4, things of that nature. And they were post-colonial currency prior to the establishment of the United States Mint. Now, they're all rare. It doesn't matter who the issuer is, with the exception of Ephraim Brashear and John Berger. Those are the two most common that you see. And those show up on a plethora of coins. You've got eight escudos on those, milled eight escudos. You've got Brazilian 6,400 rays or half joes, British guineas. You've got totally fabricated coins for Ephraim Brashear, which he made it in the style of a Potosi cob, but it's a perfectly round coin. And so they would hold these coins and assay them, and then they would put a plug in it of seemingly good gold to bring it up to the proper weight standard. And then they'd circulate in post-colonial US.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I want to give a credit to these. This is from a book you can read there. It was shown to us by this author, Catherine Holland. Mm-hmm. And there's the information of the book that she's releasing. She studied silversmiths, and she consulted us because she found the name of WG. So I thought it was interesting to share with you.
No, cool.
I'm going to stop sharing these. And I don't know, Paul, do you have any question? Your microphone is off and your dog is loose. Your microphone is off.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
I just got bombarded by a Doberman. I have a couple quick questions for you. I have some examples of the last pictures that you were showing there, Kyle, with the golden fleece on the Colombian 8 reales. Are most of those shipwrecked pieces, or are there any landline ones that you're aware of that exist?
Land find ones?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there are tons and tons of examples of those. Some of them appear some of them have come up out of shipwrecks, but are you talking specifically Colombian?
Colombian with the gold fleece countermark.
Boy, that's a tough one. I'm not sure exactly. I know that there has been several that have been found on shipwrecks. I don't know how many of them are land finds or that were just circulated in that never made it to the continent. I don't know. They're rare as hell.
Okay. And then also on the Jamaican GR series, there's no 4 reals that are known. I thought there was one known to exist.
4 escudos? No, I don't know of any 4 escudos. I only know of the 2 escudos and the 8 escudos. Unless a certain friend in the Caribbean owns one.
I thought I'll have to check my pictures. I thought it was a 2, 4, and an 8, or well, several 8s. But anyway, okay, I'll check that.
Yeah, I'm totally unaware of any 4 escudos.
Okay.
Thank you, Kyle. I think with this we can finish the talk. There is anything else that you want to add? I know, Paul, we will be traveling to Cartagena. Kyle is obviously busy, but he will follow us online. And do you want to add anything else? Thank you so much for being with us and giving us this presentation.
Well, I wish I would have had more time to devote to this. We've had an extremely busy schedule this year. I am looking forward to doing this again. So hopefully this time I can come in person and put on a really great, display and give a nice lecture for you guys. Thank you for watching, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you
much for your presentation, Kyle. It's spectacular for me. And well, Paul, thank you very much for your assistance. And Augie, too. Augie, muchísimas gracias. Invitamos a todos nuestros amigos que están a través de las redes sociales a continuar viendo estas conferencias virtuales que está presentando la tercera Convención Internacional de Historiadores y Numismáticos Cartagena 2021. Con nosotros es todo y nos vemos en la próxima conferencia. Muchas gracias. Bye bye.
Chao.
Bye.